We're going to talk about organic groups. Mike Hofmockel and Hoerschelman, and we'll do this in two parts. I'll kind of give a little background of what organic groups is, what it's not, maybe some pitfalls, and then Hans will do a little demo so you can see it in action and how it works. Okay. So organic groups is a module. It's actually a suite of modules. There's several modules inside of it when you download, and so you can choose between a few of them and install them. The premise of organic groups is basically a way to ad hoc build groups together on the fly, and so there's this relationship between the idea of the group and then all the things that belong to the group. So it's a way of one, managing people and socializing people together, but also a way of managing and organizing content as well. So it's a social networking, a way for people to meet each other and talk to each other. It's a way to manage content. It's a way to manage relationships between pieces of content and what group they belong to. So, for instance, you could make a post, but yet you belong to multiple groups, and it can belong to both of those groups, even though it's one piece of content. You won't have to post it twice, that kind of thing. And it's really, really flexible. You can do a lot with it, and that is why it's awesome, but that's also why it's a little bit dangerous too. So we'll talk about some potential pitfalls that you might run into. So on the organic groups site, there's this is one of their examples, and I've been hard pressed to even find the word like group or the idea of group on this site. But yet, if you look around and you look at the navigation, you'll quickly start to realize how that's organized. So the idea of the group, so for instance, many of you have experienced organic groups through our message board, the DrupalCorn message board, through groups.drupal.org/Iowa. And it's really apparent when you go there. So here's another one. The Economist is a pretty big site organized with organic groups. Here's another one, Open Atrium. This is intranet in a box, primarily through ad hoc users organizing that way. And this would be closed to the public, so you'd come, you'd find this site, it'd be totally locked, and you'd have to log in, and then all the groups behind that, and then there'd be even more permissioning. So what I wanted to get to was this slide here is a screen capture from groups.drupal.org, and so they run a message board there and a groups system there that's very apparent to you what it is and what they're trying to do. So they're trying to allow us to build groups like DrupalCorn, like DrupalHogs, and create relationships with each other. So I made this group by basically filling out a node type called group on the website, and then it goes into moderation. And then through that, I pass through moderation, and they say, yeah, this seems like a logical idea. You should probably have your own group. Then I then own that node that is the group, and through that node, I define what the name of the group is, but also how the group functions. So I have it set up so that it's an open group. It's a group that anybody can join. And there's no moderation that you have to go through to be a part of the group. You just kind of say yeah, and you're immediately part of the group. But you could also choose that it's a private group, and we can see that right here. And so it says request membership. That happens to be University of Texas at Austin. So they're running a group, but they want to be selective about who can get into it. They likely have all their data as private. So there's kind of two things there. There's The data can be private, but also membership to the group can be controlled. And those two things can be separate. So we can have a situation where you could have membership is controlled so that the number of people that can come in there are limited, but see, here we go, Hans, we lost it. So the number of people are limited, but all the communication that happens is absolutely public, right? So you could control who's speaking. So like a good instance of this would be in the sense of maybe an intranet where you have the chairs of the greater body that you want to control where they can speak and what they say, and you don't want to let anybody else in, but you want all that public content, right? You want them to speak publicly, but you want to control the voices that are speaking through that channel. Or you could lock it off and nobody can see anything unless you're part of the group. Or you could run it like I'm running it, which is totally open. And this is just the beginning. There's like organic groups is a whole category inside of Drupal where there's all these other add-ons. So you can extend it to handle calendars, to handle custom taxonomies, and there's integration with a module called panels so that you can lay it out efficiently. Can you get back to the slides?
Yep.
So the flexibility of this thing and the power of what you can do with it is really endless. Lots of people, before we had a few other modules that solved some really particular problems, a lot of people were using this to, if they had the need to have multiple sites that had a relationship to each other, and they wanted to share content. So sharing content between two different domains was very difficult until we had a module called domain access, where you can have one database and you can share content between those by describing those which domain the content belongs to. But before that, many people were stretching organic groups and leveraging organic groups to solve that problem too. So they would do theme switching based off of which domain you came in through, and they would you could organize your content into different categories. So it's also solved intranet. You can even make groups where everything's public, but the idea of the group and stuff is hidden, like we saw with The Economist. So here's, let's jump off and go to this link. Sorry for the slow internet.
Question.
Yeah.
So is this like a permission scheme where I can apply it to like a calendar application or anything?
Yeah, yes, but it's not that simple. So it is a permission schema, but and as part of that is this idea of a relationship between this object that is a group and all the things that belong to the group and all the users of the group. So
can I have any things?
Yeah.
Like calendars?
Yeah. Yeah.
So any things will. Okay.
Yeah, you could have a calendar system such that it's a calendar per group, right? So there's an add-on module to help you do that. And in Open Atrium, the distribution, they've already got that built into it for you. So, and for instance, it goes farther because it gets really interesting because of your question. So if I belong to multiple groups and I'm trying to keep track of multiple calendars, the organic groups lets me see everything I'm allowed to see simultaneously, so that I don't have to like go into one group to see that stuff, go into another group and like drive down directory structure. I can get one listing of all my stuff, and that same listing doesn't matter. So if you understand maybe views, right, we can just say, there's one argument that's like only show that person's stuff that's currently looking at it. So I could see, group X and group Y, but I don't belong to Z, so it won't be in the list. And that's really powerful because I have like a one-stop shop. It's like a dashboard for all my things. And so, for instance, when I was promoting this this meeting, oh, you can't see it. Oh, you can't see it because I'm not logged in. The group page is actually, I cross-posted this. So I joined like every group that's around us. So the Nebraska group, the Chicago group, the Minnesota Twin Cities group. And so when I posted this, I just checked all those as audiences. And so it went out to everybody. It also serves as a like listserv with an archive, right? So we can, all these things, like if you belong to our group, you already, by default, you start getting, every time there's a post, you get an email, right? You can do some aggregation on that and get email per day, and so you don't have to get blasted. But it can work like a listserv that has an archive, an online archive, right? So we can make a group, people join the group, and it's just a form of communication, and it's email enabled by default. Let me log in and show you the back end.
I guess just a general, has anybody here already used organic groups, either 6 or 7 before? Anybody? Bueller?
Okay, so now we can see a lot more here. We can see, I have an edit button there, sign-ups of who signs up for it, because this one is, you can have many different like any kind of node type that you come up with, you can say that'll be controlled by organic groups. So we're happening to be looking at one that's an event. So the event has a date. It also has the sign-ups module, so you can sign up for it. But it could also just be a post. Over here we see all the content types that are available on groups.drupal.org. You can make up your own, but we see, make a poll, an event, post a job, a discussion. So we're currently looking at an event, and it has, like I said, the signups. But let me scroll down here a little bit. Categories, events. Okay, it says it's posted in Iowa, but it's also cross-listed. If you went to Drupal Hawks, you would see it too, and you wouldn't have to belong to my group. It's just that I belong to all those groups, so I can post to all those groups. Let's show you. There's a few extra things like the members. So I can get a full listing of all the members, and there is something similar for the end users. Like at the bottom, I have on the main page, I have a listing of everybody that's in the group and a picture of them. But I can also elevate people and give them permission. So like John Rearick and John Van Dyke are also co-maintainers of the group. So even though I own the node that describes what the group, I can also offload some of the permissions and some of the work to them. So so if I go to, let's see, Danny. Contact, oh, that didn't work. Nope, nope, members. This is what I want. Okay, so I'm hitting list here, and I'm listing all of them. The other view was just the faces, right? So we had clickable faces, and we could go to them. But here, you can see I have the ability to change permissions. I can remove them from the membership. Even though it's open group, I have full control of this group, and I can kick people out, and even I control every node that's inside of there. So if you post something, I can edit it. I never do that, but I'm trying to show you what can be done, right? So I own everything inside of there. And if you post to the group, I have edit rights to that, as does John Rearick and John Van Dyke. Now, we don't do that sort of thing, but again, like that's how far you can stretch it and make it do things. So right here, I can say, I could say Ann Grizel here, who's right here. I could say admin create. I could say admin create, and then all of a sudden she's going to be an admin and have all those rights too, right? So you can not only make a group, but then you can distribute the workload at least 2 tiers. There's other modules that even allow you to make groups inside of groups, make subgroups, so then you can stretch it even farther and kind of endlessly make organizations inside of organizations.
Groups inside of subgroups.
That's a little, right? It's a little endless tunnel, right? Let's get back to the preview here. I have another slide. Oh, this is kind of, I was in a hurry here, and so this is kind of where the end is. But so this is the cautionary tale before I let Hans do a nice demo for you, is that because it's, my biggest worry about people using organic groups is that they're going to take all this power and they're going to be like, this is awesome, let's give it to the end user. And you're going to give them all this stuff. And the idea that I belong to multiple groups and that I can go to a single listing and see all those groups and see even all that content from all those groups like I described, end users aren't going to be able to handle that in general. This is too confusing. The usability of that's going to be very difficult. So like for OpenAtrium, the distribution of intranet, they've locked that down. So you have to be in the context of the group in order to see the content, because they had so many usability problems that's how they solved it. It's just basically, we're not going to overwhelm them. Now on groups.drupal.org, that's not as much of a problem because it's a group of technologists, right? So we have these kind of ideas, and we can get over it. But like the power that I have on groups.drupal.org, I would never think to give all of that power to an end user. Like I can control, like it's panels enabled, so I can control the layout of my homepage, and I can describe what goes where. I can blow away all of the sidebar and move the sidebar out and override all of the navigation entirely. Like I have that right on GDO within inside of the context of my group, but there's no way that I could hand panels off and hand off that kind of permission to an end user. So usually what I recommend is like definitely consider organic groups if you are trying to build ad hoc groups or even formal groups and you want them to communicate and collaborate. It's great for collaboration, but I definitely suggest like you find your use case in it and then you kind of dial back what organic groups does so you don't overwhelm them. So that's you load it up, try it all out, but then realize that you should probably dial it back and make a more focused use of it. It's such a powerful but overly generalized tool to solve so many problems. So that's my pitfall. Okay, so Hans.
I will take over. Hi there. So my end of this is going to be setting you up with a very simple starter group. I know you told me that was going to happen, but I'd like to keep it for my notes. Oh, thanks. So for the most part, differences. I've only used the Drupal 7 version of organic groups. I've been reading up on the Drupal 6 version, although I never plan to use it. And there's a few differences, but if you understand the concept of nodes, as it is in Drupal, where any type of content is a node, and you can associate things to a node. The difference between Organic Group 6 and Organic Group 7 is that now it's moved from just the concept of nodes to the concept of entities. So anything that is an entity in Drupal 7 can be associated with a group, whereas before it had to be a node type. So it would have to be specific to any of the node types you could create, whereas now you could do fields, you can do views, you can do pretty much anything that can be associated can be part of a group. Okay, so for this, I'm going to have to be at an odd angle here. What we're going to do is on a local install. Oh yeah, might as well do that. Okay. Maintenance. At your earliest convenience, please come to the Palmer room. All right. So for this, I'm currently going to be using the Acquia dev stack, which you can download from, I believe it's devacquia.com. Is that where they have
Yeah.
it?
It's acquia.com/downloads and get the dev desktop.
Yeah.
And it's everything you need in order to run Drupal, and it'll come with Apache and MySQL and everything you need.
It's got an interface to help you set all this up, so you don't have to be a super guru to set it all up. It does most of it for you. So I've got a simple site install already going. If I can get to it. Where did it go? There it is. Okay. So we'll start out where you would start out, which would be on your front page. So you've installed a fresh Drupal install, and you will want to go out and download the following modules from the Drupal.org site. Those modules would be, roll down here, Chaos Tools, which goes by the name CTools, the Context module, which I believe is part of Entity, or no, it was part of Chaos Tools, I'm sorry. Also the Views, this has got more because it's the dev stack, the Organic Groups module under OG, and the Entity API module, which is under Entity. And if you have, if you're Drush familiar, you can do all this in one line, which would be Drush, DL, OG, Entity, Views, CTools, Panels, and you're done. Once you have them downloaded and put into your install directory, you go and you just have to go in and enable your Panels module, your Views module and Views UI, Entity API, and I also do Entity tokens because you usually end up using it pretty quickly after that. And then in Organic Groups, for our purposes, you can start off with just the Organic Groups and Organic Groups UI, but if you wanted to do anything with public-private groups, then you should also add in access control and context as well. And I'll put field access just for fun. Let's see. And that should do it. Oh, I'm sorry, Chaos Tools. Oh, my list is bad here. That's right. But yeah, let me just give the full list of modules that we want to enable. It will be Organic Groups, Organic Groups Context, Organic Groups Access, Organic Groups Field Access, Organic Groups UI, Chaos Tools, page manager, views content panes, views UI, entity, and entity token. And again, if you're familiar with Drush, you can do all this in one line with the following command. Drush and OG and all these guys, like that. Drush is the Drupal shell. It's a command line interface for enabling, disabling, and managing Drupal modules, as well as some other aspects. There's actually a talk that I'll be doing with Brandon Neal later on in that regard.
Could you put that last thing up just for like 30 more seconds?
Surely.
Thank you.
These will all be available as well after the talk.
I'm assuming if you enable more than you need, then it'll use more memory, right?
To a point. If you enable it but actually don't set anything up, it's going to be, of course it will take a bigger footprint on every page load, but if you're not actually doing anything with it, it will be a negligible amount. Good to go? Okay. All right, so we got all those checked. We shall save the module configuration. And I must enable chaos tools. So yes, continue. Take a second, and everything will load. And directly afterwards, since I added in a unit for content access, it's going to say content access permissions need to be rebuilt. So we will go ahead and do that. Takes a second. Ta-da. Now we are ready to actually create our first group. To do so, we go to Structure, Content Types, Add Content Type. And for this, since it's a demo, we're just going to do things that are very descriptive of what we're trying to do. We'll say Group Container, where we put stuff that is a group here. So then going down, you can set your normal options. If you don't want this to be pushed to the front page upon creation, then of course select that. Do you want comments? And this is just for the group itself. So if you don't want people commenting on your group, not just your group, but not your group content, but the group itself, then you can go ahead and turn these to hidden. And the most important portion is this group tab right here at the bottom, which we are creating there's two things in the group tab here. There's the group and group content selections. How this breaks out is if you want something to actually be a group that contains other things, you select the group type up here. In a moment, we will go ahead and add other content types as group content types so that they can be added to groups. But since this is just the actual container, we go ahead and save it. And so now I can create group content types, or actually just groups. So I will go ahead, add content, a group container, test group. This is a test group. Test. And I go ahead and, for ease of use, I'm just going to add a menu link title so that we can find it very simply. And then hit save. So now I've got a test group here. Boring old node, right at present. So the next thing that we are going to want to do is add other types of content that can be added to the group. So to do that, structure, content types, And we'll add both article and page as content types that can be added to a group. You do that by going to Edit on the specific content type you'd like to add, Group, Group Content Type. And that is it. Do the same thing to page. So now, when I go to create content, such as an article, I will, besides the normal items, I will see down here at the bottom, groups audience. It will, any groups that you belong to, either are a manager for or have permissions to add to, will be listed down here. And so to put it in the test group, I will select test group. I'll actually put some test content in here. So there's actually something that shows up. And I hit save. So now this is part of the test group's audience. And as Michael said, you can set this up to also go to multiple groups. In this instance, we're just going to stick with the one, since it's just a simple, quick demo. But when you go to the group, it's not there. So the next portion of this is going to be how to set up panels to show your actual content, as well as things like how the add content links, how to join a group, and the members of a group. So to do that, this is where we get into the panels section. And actually, we're going to end up using Page Manager, which is here under Structure, Pages, to do this by overriding the node template type. So the first thing we have to do when we come in here is enable the node template by hitting Enable. And then once that's ready, we hit Edit. And we will come to this page where it's telling us what all this is about. We are looking to create a variant of the node template type for an OG group. So we'll come in here. We will name this something that is meaningful to us. No one else will be seeing it, so we'll say group layout. Our variant type is a panel. We would like selection rules and context because we only want group types to be using this panel. And we want it to be specific contextually to each group that we land on. So once we check those two, we'll be taken to another selection page to enter in more items. This is the panel content type, so we want to have a OG node is a group as this panel content selection. So we add that. As you can see, you can do other logistical things here later. So if you had a whole bunch of things that you wanted to select, but you didn't want one, you can come in here and change it to not being in that group. But we would like it to be, so we'll keep it that way. For the purpose of this, that's all we need. And now, editing the relationships of the group, we need the OG group from node is the relationship that we would like. So it's going to say we've got a group field in there that has a group ID. We'd like to bring that in as something to trim down the amount of content that we get back. Once that's done, and then we get into the actual how do we want to lay out our group page. This is where the panel builder comes into play. You can select from multiple setups here. You can have just a single column. You can have 2 columns set in different ways, or 3 columns. I'm actually going to go through and do the builder and just show you that you can go through and set it up exactly how you want it, or it's still completely viable to do one of these other building types. Continue. One thing to note is while you're in here, up here in the corner it says changed. That means that this has not been saved yet. If I walk away, you close the browser or whatever, all this is going to go back to the start. So if you're one of those people that wants to make sure that what you've done doesn't go away, or you think you might mess up, go ahead and you can hit save at any time, and you can still come back via the sidebar over here to get to where you were. So here we are on this. Let's see, which page did we end up on here? So we're asking for the specific layout settings. You can disable the Drupal sidebar regions here, so like the navigation sidebar that comes down, you can remove that if you don't want it displayed on your page or on the group page. You can also leave it in. You can add in different classes if you're going to do styling. One of the things that might be helpful to the quadrant, that's the actual group page, you can add a CSS ID, so you could call it like, my group, and then later on in your CSS you can style it, or you can even embed CSS code directly onto the group page that's saved in the database. Here we are at the actual layout designer. You can manually set your title here to something else. It normally, or to nothing at all, which would be, if you do set no title, as it says here, just type in no title. For our purposes, I'd like it to actually display the title of the node. So to do so, I will use the token system to do that, which is, yes, all these lists down here. You can see all the stuff that you can add in as substitutions inside the title field. So I'm going just for node title, which is the title of the group that we set earlier. So here, for our purposes, I'm just going to create a simple 2-column layout, but you can go through and make all sorts of configurations you want. As you can see on like the group's Iowa page, they had multiple columns set off to the side with rows breaking it up in between. This is how that is created. So for this, I want a 2-column. So canvas settings, or canvas, add column to the right. You can do fluid or fixed width depending on what type of layout that you have on the rest of your page. I'm just going to do fluid. You can set the size. We'll go with 75 and 25, or pretty much as close as I can get it. There we go. Then over here we'll add another row which contains a region, and then we'll add a region in that row, region title, right region. It is also fluid. And so now what we have is 2 regions, a 2-column layout, 75 by 25, to which I can now add content. And this is where you actually get to put in what you want people to see on your group page. And you do so by going through to the little guys here on the region settings and hitting Add Content. You'll be presented with this page adding content to whichever content area. So what I'd like to do here is I'd like to add the description of the group and the content of the group to the center page, or the center part of the page. And on the right hand side, I'll add the content links, the subscribe to group, or add content links, subscribe to group, and the list of all the members. So for the center page, we'll go ahead and add the node body, which is under the node reference, and we'll go with field node body, just so we can just get the field itself. I can override the title of the body area if I felt like it. Otherwise, I can just leave it the way it is. And hit finish. And now I'll also add node content, which in this I'm going to end up using a special view created by the organic groups module called OG nodes. That's under view panes, OG nodes, which will give us all the selections that are related to this particular group. On the right-hand side, add content. For this, we need the, let's see, organic groups, content create links. This will allow what type of content we actually want the group members to be able to create and add to the group. So for this, if you only wanted them to be able to do articles, you could select just articles. If you only want to do pages, just pages. Or if you leave it empty, it'll let you do everything. Okay, finish there. Add content. And then for to subscribe to the group, we'll go to organic groups. Oh, I'm sorry, wrong one. I just did that. To subscribe to the group, we go to Node, Field Group, and then select the under Formatter, select Group Subscription Formatter. This changes it from just the group reference into a link that says, subscribe to this group, or if you're already in the group, unsubscribe from this group. If you're the group manager, it just tells you you can't do anything because you're already in charge. So, and I can rearrange the order of these after I add them. So if you put something in that's not exactly the way you want it, you can come back in and move things around. And the last thing I'll do, add content, views, OG members. And this will give me the lists of all the members that belong to this group, which and then you can set some more items here, which I don't believe we need to do. Finish. Then now that we've got everything set, we go ahead and create variant. And so now, as you see, everything that we've gone through to set this up, it's all broken out nicely here in these sidebars, where you can change if you either left something out or wanted to add or change. So that's okay. That's pretty much what we need. So we've updated and saved. So now, let's keep that one open. When I go out here to test group, you can see now I've got the description of the group, and as you can see, I didn't override the title, so it just says what the label of the area is, which is body. Here's where the test group content has come from. I'm the only one that submitted anything there. I'm the group manager, and then here's the content create links, and apparently so what we'll do here, I will open up. Is there a Safari link on here? We'll open up some Safari group. I'll just quick create another user. Okay, test one. Create an account. Okay, so now so as you can see, I don't have any setup on here to make anything private, so anybody can go in and see things. And apparently I did not. Alright. So as you can see, something has gone wrong. Apologize. So let's see. You have any idea what I missed? It must be. That's got to be permissions. I had this all set up on my local instance, but I had to switch to a different thing so we could get this recorded. Anyway, there should be. I'm just going to go ahead and show you an example of what you can end up with here. This is currently what I'm working on. Yeah, well, this is a definite example. But this is it's the one I'm going to show is extremely similar to what I was going through here. If my wireless will connect. All right. Okay, well, this is apparently not going to work, and we're running out of time, so I guess I will. Yeah, there's, let's see, create some content. You can create private groups using different configurations on the OG field settings, which there are multiple places online that can give you some good setups on how to do this. Like I said, I've got all this out here written out for you, so you can, after this is done, come through and follow the instructions on your own. And we'll get to questions. I leave a couple of resources down here that you can go through. If you want to learn all about organic groups, there's a good DrupalCon Denver video that goes through all of it. I'd start at 8 minutes, 30 seconds in, and then for a very, very nice quick walkthrough of this pretty much this same type of setup. This modules unravel.com/organic groups. They will walk you through much the same way. So, comments, questions, apologies for the technical difficulties. Okay. Go ahead.
It seems like you could use groups as a much more powerful role system. Is that an accurate statement?
Yes. You can use them in conjunction, although it's not really so. Views and content access, those two modules don't really play well together. You basically have to set your hierarchies such that one overrides the other, because the way that content access is set up in Drupal is there's only one thing that really is in charge. So they don't share.
So he's hitting on a fundamental principle inside of Drupal that is like having more than one content access rule module at a time causes a problem, because the way Drupal resolves this is with an OR.
Right.
So if this works or this works, then you win. Where what you're looking for is an and, right? Now you can solve this by adding your own module and forcing that agenda. Okay, but there's and there are some attempts to solve this problem. There's a module called ACL, Access Control List, which tries to it doesn't do quite an and, but it does an order of like check this one first, then check that one, right? So you could get it's not quite an and, but it's an ordered list of like this one would win. So
yeah, but inside of OG, you can set up, much like you would in the greater Drupal scheme, specific roles that do specific things. Like I believe it comes with member, non-member, and administrator out of the gate. But you can go in through the organic groups configuration interface and set it up so that there's any number of nuanced in their content contributor or some other thing if you want to get nuanced.
I think that you don't need another module to solve your problem, I suspect. So maybe I think my why don't I start a BOF, and we'll say maybe the title of the BOF is "Do I Need Organic Groups?" And so
it seems like it's pretty powerful, but where would be the line between just using roles and a module like taxonomy access versus setting up the whole
Mhm.
Yeah. So I think that a group is not a role, right? And so that's where the line is drawn: is do I need a group or do I need a role? A role is tied to permissions. A group is more of a relationships of users that don't necessarily have. It's more of like a global thing, because it's per, whatever group you belong to could have different rules, right? So it's another paradigm similar to roles, but different.
Thank you.
Oh, yes.
Would, just to follow up on that a little bit, would organic groups be an appropriate mechanism to deal with the idea of access control in the site?
Absolutely. That's what The Economist is doing, right? So you could take away the concept of groups from the end users, right? So you don't even let them experience it. But inside of your organizational body, you say, okay, this organization is going to be, is going to use this group, and this group, and will display in these ways. And so absolutely you can solve it. If you want to expose the idea of groups to the end user, you can, but sometimes it's more powerful, like I think you're suggesting, not to, and leverage it to control access. It's definitely, once you turn on OG content access, you've got access control, and you can really stretch this really far. It's amazing what people have made this thing do. Got more?
Okay. Well, thank you. And yeah, if you have any further questions about it, please just come up and talk to us.